The Lizard is a peninsula in southern Cornwall, England, United Kingdom. The most southerly point of the British mainland is near Lizard Point at grid reference SW 700 and 1115. The Lizard Village is the most southerly on the British mainland, and is in the civil parish of Landewednack, the most southerly parish. The valleys of the river Helford and Lowpool form the northern boundary, with the rest of the peninsula surrounded by sea. The area measures approximately 14 by 14 miles. The Lizard is one of England's natural regions and has been designated as National Character Area 157 by Natural England. The peninsula is known for its geology and for its rare plants and lies within the Cornwall area of outstanding natural beauty. Almost a third of Cornwall has AONB designation, with the same status and protection as a national park. The name Lizard is most probably a corruption of the Cornish name Lisardh, meaning High Court. It is purely coincidental that much of the peninsula is composed of a rock called serpentinite. The Lizard Peninsula's original name may have been the Celtic name, Prydainic, during the Iron Age and Roman period. Britain was known as Prydainic and is Albion. The Lizard's coast is particularly hazardous to shipping, and the seaways round the peninsula were historically known as the graveyard of ships. The Lizard Lighthouse was built at Lizard Point in 1752, and the RNLI operates the Lizard Lifeboat Station. History. There is evidence of early habitation with several burial mounds and stones. Part of the peninsula is known as the Menag. Helston, the nearest town to the Lizard Peninsula, is said to have once headed the estuary of the River Cobar, before it was cut off from the sea by Lobar in the 13th century. It is a matter of debate as to whether Helston was once a port, albeit no actual records still exist. Geomorphologists believe the bar was most likely formed by rising sea levels after the last Ice Age, blocking the river and creating a barrier beach. The beach is formed mostly of flint, and the nearest source is found offshore under the drowned terrace of the former river that flowed between England and France, and now under the English Channel. The medieval port of Helston was at Gweek, possibly from around 1260 onwards, on the Helford River, which exported tin and copper. Helston was believed to be in existence in the 6th century, around the Dŵr Cohar. The name comes from the Cornish Henlis, or Old Court, and tun, added later to denote of Saxon manor. The Domesday Book refers to it as Henliston. It was granted its charter by King John in 1201. It was here that tin ingots were weighed to determine the duty due to the Duke of Cornwall when a number of stanary towns were authorised by royal decree. The royal manor of Winhampton, which was held by King William I at the time of the Domesday Book, was also the head manor of the hundred of Kerrier and the largest estate in Cornwall. It was assessed as having 15 hides before 1066. At the time of Domesday there was land for 60 ploughs, but in the Lord's land there were 2 ploughs, and in the lands held by villeins 24 ploughs. There were 24 villeins, 41 freedmen, 33 smallholders and 14 slaves. There were 6 acres, 8 square leagues of pasture and half a square league of woodland. The livestock was 14 unbroken mares, 3 cattle and 128 sheep. Its value was £12 annually. 11 of the hides were held by the Count of Mortain, and there is more arable and pasture, and 13 more persons are recorded Drancy, Trelowarren, Morgan in Menag, and 17 other lands are also recorded under Winhampton. Mullion has the 15th century church of St Melanus, and the old inn from the 16th century. The harbour was completed in 1895 and financed by Lord Rabouts of Lanhydrock as a recompense to the fishermen for several disastrous pilchard seasons. The small church of St. Peter in Coverack, built in 1885 for £500, has a serpentinite pulpit. The Great Western Railway operated a road motor service to the Lizard from Helston Railway Station, commencing on the 17th of August 1903. It was the first successful British railway-run bus service and was initially provided as a cheaper alternative to a proposed light railway. The solar eclipse of the 11th of August 1999 departed the UK mainland from the Lizard. Nautical, the Lizard has been the site of many maritime disasters. It forms a natural obstacle to entry and exit of Falmouth and its naturally deep estuary. At Lizard Point stands the Lizard Lighthouse. In fact, the light was erected by Sir John Killigrew by his own expense. It was built at the cost of 20 nobles a year for 30 years, but it caused an uproar over the following years, as King James I considered charging vessels to pass. This caused so many problems that the lighthouse was demolished, but was successfully rebuilt in 1751 by order of Thomas Fonero and remains almost unchanged today. Further east lie the Manacles, near Portherstock, 1.5 square miles of jagged rocks just beneath the waves. In 1721 the Royal Anne Galley, an oared frigate, was wrecked at Lizard Point. Of a crew of 185, only 3 survived. Loss was Lord Belhaven, who was en route to take up the governorship of Barbados. A 44-gun frigate, HMS Anson, was wrecked at Low Bar in 1807. Although it wrecked close to shore, many lost their lives in the storm. This inspired Henry Trengaus to invent the rocket-fired line, later to become the Breeches Buoy. The transport ship Dispatch ran aground on the Manacles in 1809 on its return from the Peninsular War, losing 104 men from the 7th Hussars. The following day, with local villages still attempting a rescue, the cruiser-class brig sloop HMS Primrose hit the northern end of these rocks. The only survivor of its 126 officers, men and boys, was a drummer boy. The SS Mohegan, a 7,000-ton passenger liner, also hit the Manacles in 1898 with the loss of 106 lives. The American passenger liner, the Paris, was stranded on the Manacles in 1899, with no loss of life. The biggest rescue in the RNLI's history was the 17th of March 1907 when the 12,000-ton liner SS Suevich hit the Mainhira Reef near Lizard Point in Cornwall. In a strong gale and dense fog, RNLI lifeboat volunteers rescued 456 passengers, including 70 babies. Crews from the Lizard, Chadworth, Coverack and Porthleven rowed out repeatedly for 16 hours to rescue all of the people on board. 6 silver RNLI medals were later awarded, 2 to Suevich crew members. The battle at the Lizard, a naval battle, took place off the Lizard on the 21st of October 1707. Smuggling was a regular, and often necessary, way of life in these parts, despite the efforts of coastguards or preventive men. In 1801, the King's pardon was offered to any smuggler giving information on the Mullion Musket men involved in a gunfight with the crew of HM gun vessel Hecate. Aviation in the First World War. A naval air station was established at Benithan, flying mainly Pldms used for spotting U-boats. One was sunk and several probably damaged by bombs dropped by the Pldms. The airfield site is now occupied by the wind farm. RAF Landewednack Down was a Second World War air base, from which Coastal Command squadrons flew anti-submarine sorties into the Bay of Biscay as well as convoy support in the Western English Channel. The runways still exist and the site is used by local Air Cadet Volunteer Gliding Squadron 626 VGS and is an emergency relief base for RNAS Culdrose. RNAS Culdrose is Europe's largest helicopter base, and currently hosts the Training and Occupational Conversion Unit operating the EH-101 Merlin helicopter. It is also the home base for Merlin squadrons embarked upon Royal Navy warships, the Westland-seeking AEW variant helicopter, a search and rescue helicopter flight, and some BA Hawk T-1 trainer jets used for training purposes by the Royal Navy. The base also operates some other types of fixed-wing aircraft for calibration and other training purposes. As befits the base's name, a non-flying example of a Hawker Seahawk forms the main Gate Guardian static display. RNAS Culdrose is a major contributor to the economy of the Lizard area. Political: the Lizard Peninsula is in the St Ives parliamentary constituency. However, the parishes northeast of the Helford River are in Camborne and Redruth parliamentary constituency. To the north, the Lizard Peninsula is bordered by the civil parishes of Brieg, Porthleven, Sithne, Helston, Wendron, Gweek, and, across the Helford River, by Constantine, Currier and Mornan. The parishes on the peninsula proper are: northern parishes, Gunwallow, Curie, Morgan in Moneg, St Martin in Moneg, Monach and St Anthony in Moneg. Southern parishes, Mullion, Grade Ruin, St Keverne, Landewednack. The Lizard's political history includes the 1497 Cornish Rebellion, which began in St Keverne. The village blacksmith Michael Joseph led the uprising, protesting against the punitive taxes levied by Henry VII to pay for the war against the Scots. The uprising was rooted on its march to London, and the two leaders, Michael Joseph and Thomas Flamanck, were subsequently hanged, drawn and quartered. Technology: titanium was discovered here by the Reverend William Gregor in 1791. In 1869, John Pender formed the Falmouth, Gibraltar and Malta Telegraph Company, intending to connect India to England with an undersea cable. Although intended to land at Falmouth, the final landing point was Porthcurno near Land's End. In 1900, Guglielmo Marconi stayed the Housel Bay Hotel in his quest to locate a coastal radio station to receive signals from ships equipped with his apparatus. He leased a plot in the wheatfield adjoining the hotel, where the Lizard Wireless Telegraph Station still stands today. Recently restored by the National Trust, it looks as it did in January 1901, when Marconi received the distance record signals of 186 miles from his transmitter station at Nytton, Isle of Wight. The Lizard Wireless Station is the oldest Marconi station to survive in its original state, and is located to the west of the Lloyd signal station in what appears to be a wooden hut. On the 12th of December 1901, Pldms Point was the site of the first transatlantic wireless signal radio communication when Marconi sent a signal to St John's, Newfoundland. The technology is one of the key advances to the development of radio, television, satellites and the Internet. A radar station called Raftritry was built during World War II. The site was later chosen for the Telstar project in 1962, its rocky foundations, clear atmosphere and extreme southerly location being uniquely suitable. This became the Goonhilly Satellite Earth Station, now owned by Goonhilly Earth Station Limited. Some important developments in television satellite transmission were made at Goonhilly Station. A wind farm exists near to the Goonhilly Station site. Geology. Known as the Lizard Complex, the peninsula's geology is the best preserved example of an exposed ophiolite in the United Kingdom. An ophiolite is a suite of geological formations which represent a slice through a section of ocean crust thrust onto the continental crust. The lizard formations comprise three main units: the serpentinites, the oceanic complex, and a metamorphic basement. Ecology. Several nature sites exist on the Lizard Peninsula: Prydanig Nature Reserve, Mullion Island, Goonhilly Downs, and the Cornish Seal Sanctuary. Landewednack, an area of the lizard covering 16.62 square kilometers is designated a National Nature Reserve because of its coastal grasslands and heath sand. Inland heaths. The peninsula contains three main sites of special scientific interest, both noted for their endangered insects and plants, as well as the geology. The first is East Lizard Heathlands SSSI, the second is Kertillion-Taconic SSSI, and the third is West Lizard SSSI, of which the important wetland Hale Kimbrough Pool forms a part of. The area is also home to one of England's rarest breeding birds, the Cornish chough. This species of crow is distinctive due to its red beak and legs and haunting call. Chough began breeding on lizard in 2002 following a concerted effort by the Cornish Chough Project in conjunction with DEFRA and the RSPB. The lizard contains some of the most specialized flora of any area in Britain, including many red data book plant species. Of particular note is the Cornish heath, Erica vagans, that occurs in abundance here, but which is found nowhere else in Britain. There are more than 600 species of flowering plants on the lizard, nearly a quarter of all UK species. The reason for this richness is partly because of the many different and unusual lizard rocks on the lizard peninsula, but above all, it is a coming together of multiple factors. A very mild maritime climate, but one prone to gales and salt winds, waterlogged and boggy soils, but ones that often parch and dry out in the summer, soils of greatly contrasting fertility and pH, and lastly man's influence. Any single factor taken on its own would influence the flora. Taken together, they combine, overlap and interact. Contrasting plant communities grow side by side in a mosaic that changes within a few meters but also changes markedly over time with the cycle of heath fires. It's not so much that conditions are ideal for growth, but that there is such a variety of different, difficult conditions. Each habitat, with its own combination of factors, attracts its own specialist plants. It is also one of the few places where the rare Formosan ant, Formica X sector, can be found.